Okay, so via Instagram, Pharrell has given us our first official look and teaser at his upcoming menswear SS24 debut collection for Louis Vuitton as the new creative director. And this really awesome campaign slash billboard, when I first saw it, a lot of things immediately jumped out to me. And once I'd processed them and thought about them, right away, I was like, oh yeah, you know what? Louis Vuitton knew exactly what they were doing when they hired him. So with all the things I noticed, I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely worth making a video on. So in this video, I'm going to break down the campaign and look at where the design ideas might have come from, as well as explore what this means for the direction of Pharrell's LV collections going forward. Hello, I'm Micah, welcome back to the channel. So up until now, Pharrell hasn't really shown too much. However, we did get some Louis Vuitton pieces dropped for his music festival, Something in the Water in Virginia. And I think some people got confused and thought that that was for the upcoming SS24 menswear collection. And so I saw some people saying that, oh, like the designs are terrible, blah, 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 blah. But no, that was literally just merch for his music festival. And yeah, I didn't really like the designs myself, but I think he's now in a position where he can have Louis Vuitton tour merch. So I think he's kind of like, why not? Why would I not do it? Which I completely get and is fair enough. And I think it's actually really cool. I think you have to remember as well that for a lot of these guys, like Virgil and Nigo and Pharrell, who aren't traditionally from like high fashion backgrounds and didn't grow up in an environment where they ever could see themselves at these luxury houses, they have a million and one things that they've always dreamt of, that they're suddenly able to check off their check boxes now that they have creative control at these luxury labels. So for someone who's been a musician for 30 odd years and has probably always idolized Louis Vuitton, to be able to be in a position where you can now have Louis Vuitton making your festival merch, of course it makes sense. Of course you're going to do it. The same way I saw Virgil do a lot of little things where, and they were often just one of one pieces that he'd wear himself, where it's kind of like, oh, you just did this to check off a little childhood dream you had. And like, fair enough, that's really cool. But yeah, this is not the Spring Summer 24 menswear collection. This campaign that we've just seen is our first look at what could potentially be on the runway in just 4 days. So right outside the d'Orsay Museum in Paris was this massive billboard that featured Rihanna in a diamond print kind of leather jacket or something, holding maybe like 4 or 5 colourful, vibrant Louis Vuitton monogram bags. And as soon as I saw this, I was like, okay, I know exactly what's going on here. Like, fair play, Louis Vuitton, fair play Pharrell, this is quite cool. Now, these bags should immediately remind you of Goyard bags with the bright block colour and the monogram on top of them. And I think that if you don't know too much about Pharrell or the history of Louis Vuitton, you might just think that maybe they're trying to copy Goyard or something like that. I mean, I'm making this right after I've seen the the campaign. So I don't know what other people are saying about it yet. But I think that there's a lot more to it than that. So that's what we're going to break down now. So I'll break down the kind of like cultural and design background that there is to this, and then the kind of business side of it for Louis Vuitton and how it's going to make them tons of money. So across the course of his whole career, using kind of very vibrant and colourful, almost cartoonish block colours has been a real running theme and almost like a design language for Pharrell, whether it's in his album covers or in his personal style or in the clothing that he's designing himself and with Nigo. That has always been at the forefront, like vibrant colour. So I wasn't really surprised when he applied that same framework here to Louis Vuitton, because if you look at like even his first collaborations and early collaborations, Pharrell has always been very deliberate about like pushing and showing his love for colour and getting that to bleed through into the brands that he's working with. So like I remember the first Stan Smiths he did with Adidas, the super colour pack of like 50 different superstars that he did with them, all like every colour in the rainbow you can think of. The Samba pack that he did kind of recently, again, that rainbowish colour. Um, the human races. How can I forget the human races? Um, like it's definitely in his clearly like design language and design palette that he tries to push through in a lot of his work. So it almost just makes so much sense that he's kind of done that with Louis Vuitton. So I remember for the Adidas Super Color Pack, Pharrell said that for him having that wide range of color kind of reflected like diversity and equality. And to take that a step further, I think as well for him, he also just sees having all those color options as wider like self-expression and like a form of self-expression because like yeah, if you have 50 colors to pick from of your favorite silhouette of shoe, like nothing's holding you back to express that fear or your feelings or whatever, however you want. So yeah, I really do think these colorful bags are a tie-in to these kind of running design themes that Pharrell has been using for the past like 2 or 3 decades. And I'm quite curious to see, I think we'll probably see this expand over the entire collection then. It won't just be in the bags. I mean, Virgil used a lot of colour and colours that Louis Vuitton didn't traditionally use in his collections. But I think Pharrell's going to double and triple down on that even more. Not even just because Virgil did it, but because this is also something that Pharrell has been doing for the past kind of 2 or 3 decades. So it'll be really interesting to see how that's reflected in the clothes as well. But I do think that that love for colour in terms of design is only one of the reasons that they ended up with using these kind of colourful bags for this campaign. I also think that the other reason comes from Pharrell's genuine love for Goyard and like collecting. Pharrell is very publicly known for being like a big collector of things. People like him, Nigo, Tyler, like they all love like really collecting. And Goyard is one of the perfect brands to do that with when it came to like luggage and suitcases and trunks because of the vibrant colors. You can kind of stack them all together and have a red one, a blue one, and a yellow one, or you can put all your red ones together. And that's kind of like what's really popular, especially in like rap and hip hop culture right now, with like a lot of like artists showing off their luggage and talking about their Goyard luggage. But yeah, with Pharrell having a love for collecting and having a love for bright colors and vibrant colors, it must have been actually a no-brainer to bring this aspect to Louis Vuitton. Because I imagine for someone like him as well, maybe he's always wanted a bright green or a bright red or a bright blue um, monogram Louis Vuitton bag, and for some reason they haven't made them. And I think it is interesting to note that Louis Vuitton is almost 200 years old now, and from its inception has been making kind of luggage and different things with canvas and whatnot. And they've, to this day, never done these kind of colourful style bags, at least not as a capsule altogether like this. I mean, you have one-offs here and there that I know of, but not really given in this form factor so similar to Goyard. And I think, yeah, it's cool that Pharrell can be the one who's come in and brought that touch to them, that even in 200 years, no one's decided to innovate in that direction. Not to say that it's like super complicated to come up with, but they haven't done it yet for some reason, so that says something. Now, from a business standpoint, this sort of thing is exactly what Louis Vuitton wants. Um, Luxury houses like Louis Vuitton, Dior, Chanel, all of those kind of brands, most of their revenue and profit come from the sales of accessories and leather goods. So they always constantly want to be able to make a new it bag or a new kind of it accessory that can sell off the shelves because that's where they make their money. Um, so I feel like even though maybe some people might have before weighed up whether they want to get like a Louis Vuitton Neverfull or a Goyard tote, now suddenly it's even more of a fair playing field and it's more neck and neck because all the color options that you have in Goyard, if that's what appealed to you about it, are now available in Louis Vuitton. And like I said before, with the whole gotta catch 'em all collectors aspect of it, people who maybe previously would have only bought one bag are now wanting to buy 2 or 3 or 4 because they want the full set of colours or they want to stack them together. I mean, this is a really good business move for LV because not only do they now suddenly have a new hit bag that maybe everybody's going to want, but people will want more than one of them. So I imagine that they're pretty pleased that they've managed to, with Pharrell, work up this idea of all these colourful bags. And it's something that I can see going on for a long time. I mean, if initially they only release 4 colours, later down the line they can just keep adding colours and rinsing it. And it's just a good business move for them. So I imagine they're pretty pleased because they're going to make a lot of money. Now, I don't even think that this is just some like idea LV came up with to make loads of money. I really do think this was Pharrell's idea, and I actually think the bags are really cool and there's a lot of swag to them. And when you combine something that's actually quite cool with a name like Pharrell or previously Virgil, that's gonna sell even better. I mean, if we take a look at something like the Millionaire 1.1s, I think those are really cool sunglasses. But then once you add Virgil's name to them on top of that, they're bound to sell well. And I think the same will apply here to Pharrell. So many celebrities idolize and are affiliated with Pharrell, as we've seen with Rihanna in the campaign. So something that was already quite cool gets the bump of being that much cooler because you have so many cool people associated with it as well. And I think Rihanna being part of the campaign actually says a lot about this Louis Vuitton as well. These days, you don't really see Rihanna participating in a lot of high fashion brand campaigns and things like that because, well, one, I imagine her fee is absolutely ridiculous due to how famous she is and everything. But also, she has Savage Fenty, which she's constantly pushing herself. So I mean, the last time I even really saw her involved in Louis Vuitton was when Virgil was there for like stuff like his first show. She turned up and things like that. So I think this really reflects as well how much sway someone like Pharrell really has. And I imagine we'll see a lot of like celebrities come out the woodwork to support him and to attend the shows and wear the clothing and stuff like that. So we'll see, which will be really cool. So Pharrell tapping into his love for Goyard and collecting as well as his love for colour makes me really wonder that, oh, the direction of this LV and the potential collection that he's showing in a few days might be a lot of, yeah, him tapping into his personal quirks and interests and translating that to the clothing at a high fashion house, which could be very interesting, I think. I'm not going to say too much about it, but I think if what Pharrell's wearing here is full Louis Vuitton, we're in store for something potentially quite cool. Especially if you take a look at his eyewear, I can imagine him doing these in lots of different colours, again, similar to the bags. And yeah, I can see that being really cool and really popular as well. So yeah, this, I think Louis Vuitton have, if this is going to go how I think it's going to go, they've smashed it out of the water and they're going to make a lot of money. So they're going to be happy. But we'll see how it goes. I think as well, what's interesting is I'm not really expecting much from the first collection, but I never really do expect much from designers' first collections because it's their first collection. To this day, I don't really care much for like Virgil's first collection either, even though I think it's cool, especially culturally. But in terms of, I think by the end of his time at the house, his designing was like crazy compared to how it started, which is normal because you need time to learn how to do your job when you get a new job. So yeah, there's that. But I really would love to hear your thoughts on all of this, if the campaign impressed you or not, and what you think of the collection, what it's going to be like, because it's just a few days now and then we'll all find out. If you want to watch a video on how Pharrell became the creative director of Louis Vuitton, I put it here for you, so click that away. But otherwise, have a good day and I'll catch you next time. I think I said everything.